Thank you all for rejoining us after the break. I hope you all got the chance to visit our virtual exhibition and meet with fellow participants as well. Now we're changing gears and discussing how with robot journalism coupled with crowdsourcing, a Dutch publisher can cover 60,000 football games this season. This session is brought to you by United Robots. We're going to hear from Cecilia Campbell, who is actually part of the WAN-IFRA family, having been a journalist and reader revenue expert with us for many years. She is now the Chief Marketing Officer for United Robots based in Sweden. And we'll also hear from Art Boer, who is the Product Manager of Sports for NDC Media Group in the north of the Netherlands. We can't wait to hear from you both. So Cecilia, it's your turn to take it away. And we want to thank United Robots for your continued support of the Newsroom Summit.
Thanks a lot, Nicole. Now, of course, I'm sharing the wrong screen. Here we go. Thank you, Nicole. And thanks for giving us a chance to talk about newsroom automation here today. We hope you'll find the NDC case both interesting and inspiring. Before I hand over to Art, just a few words about United Robots and what we do. So we're a tech company based in Malmö in the south of Sweden, working mainly with the media industry. Our very first publisher partner was a Swedish local media group, Mittmedia, who I'm sure some of you will have heard of. By now, we're veterans when it comes to working with newsroom around content automation. In the past 5 years, we've delivered over 4 million texts to some 100 news sites across Europe and North America. And these are some of our publisher partners to date. We now have robots working in 6 languages, Swedish, English, Norwegian, Finnish, German, and of course, Dutch. And more are coming. So what we do is we generate text from structured data sets like sports results, traffic incidents, property sales, or company registrations. We often add images or other media to the text as well. We then send the content to the publisher, either to the CMS or directly to readers on sites and through apps or push notifications. So the vast majority of the articles we generate are automatically published with no manual tasks involved. And this is what the content looks like when it hits the publisher site. As you can see, it includes things like logos with match results in sports, satellite maps for traffic, and Google Street View photos for property sales. Finally, I just thought I'd get in a few words about robot journalism. There are a number of preconceived ideas about automated news in the industry, and I'd like to address 3 of them today. The first one, robots take journalists' jobs. In our experience, that's not true. What they do is free up journalists' time by doing the routine, repetitive reporting that really journalists are overqualified to do. Robots also allow publishers to cover huge volumes of hyper-local stories, coverage which would be completely unfeasible to do manually, like write about 60,000 local football matches. Robots can't be trusted. Actually, robots make fewer mistakes than humans. The technology we use creates text from structured data. So if a particular fact is included in the data, it will be there in the story. If it isn't, it won't be in the text, and it certainly won't be replaced with something else. As I mentioned earlier, our publisher partners trust the robot content. The vast majority of it is published straight to their readers without any manual checks. Finally, robot journalism is technically difficult. Well, it is if you're going to build your own robot, but that's our job. We build the robots and then we help you train them to write to your editorial style and guidelines. And once that's done, the automated content generation begins. We look after the robot and you get your text and images sent directly to your CMS sites or apps. So if you're interested in what we do, please come by our booth here at the Newsroom Summit and we'll be happy to tell you more. But now let's hear how NDC planned to use robots to cover all 60,000 local football matches in the first post-COVID season. Over to you, Art. Thank you for speaking to us today.
Thank you very much, Cecilia and Nicole. Let me share my slides. Let's go. First off, besides working as a publisher, I'm a sports product manager, so I'm really into sports, and I had a really awful time besides all the awful things that were going on in Europe and the rest of the world with the pandemic of COVID. But there wasn't any amateur football in the Netherlands for the past 1.5 years, which is not a good thing for multiple reasons. And so here at NDC, we are really looking forward to the start of a new season without COVID, with lots of people vaccinated, and a full season that's not getting interrupted by any other stuff. So, and we were thinking, what could we do to celebrate the fact that COVID is on its way out? Well, how cool would it be if we could report on each and every amateur football match played in the north of the Netherlands? And we are thinking youth games, ladies soccer, indoor soccer, anything that's going on in the north of the Netherlands. And together with United Robots, we found a way to do it and to start doing it in September. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit more, but first a little bit about NDC. We are a regional publisher in the north of the Netherlands. We cover about 1.5 million people out of the 17 million people in the entirety of the Netherlands. We cover 3 provinces, Groningen, Drenthe, and Friesland, but you can forget about those names. That's all right. We have 3 big daily newspapers, or actually 2 big, one a little bit smaller one. We have, of course, a website, lots of platforms, and we have a lot of free local weekly papers up here in the north of the Netherlands. And we got recently acquired by Media House, and they also have titles like De Telegraaf in the Netherlands, NRC, Noord-Hollands Dagblad. You probably heard about them, but Media is a big player. They also have titles in Luxembourg and Ireland. That happened about a year ago, and we're in a big transition to become part of Media House. The biggest challenges at the moment, there are lots of challenges for publishers like us, but the 2 main I want to mention right now is that we need to stay relevant because there's so much media out there. There's also a lot of national media out here in the Netherlands, and the Netherlands is not a very big country. So we have to be relevant, do something that other publishers are not doing at the moment. And we have to transition to online subscribers because that's happening to every newspaper business right now. So you have to change from the physical paper to online subscribers. And amateur football and automated reporting on it could really well help us with that. Well, I always start to tell about the story about my nephew. He lives about 20 kilometers here from my place. He's 17 years old. He's a pretty decent football player. He's never going to be a professional football player, but I'm really interested in about what's happening with his team because I'm his uncle. What I have to do right now to know about that is go to a page like this, and there's lots of pages like this online, and I have to figure out where is his team. I can find the result, but what does the result mean in terms of the league table? Where is he going to play next week? And how did a coach or anybody else feel about the effort they put on the pitch that day? It's really hard to do it like this. And what if we could bring it out and make it totally different and make an article about each game that is played that tells us about the result, which is obvious, but also tells us about the win streak. It was the 3rd win in a row, or they lost a couple times in a row. It tells us the result it means for the league table. So did they make it first in the league table or at the bottom of the league table? And the other thing that would make it really interesting for a reader like me, and lots of people like me who are involved in amateur football, is to have some sort of feedback from people on the pitch on what happened. So if you put that all together and put it in an article, you would have a really nice, rich article where you can cover a lot of ground with. In terms of a model, we already, as a publisher, receive real-time match results from the Dutch Football Association. We already get that. That's there. What we're trying to do is get some crowdsourcing involved, where people along with the pitch and coaches can supply us with photos and videos of the game. And what we also do, if a coach registered with us with his cell number. As soon as we have the official result of the game, they get a text message and we ask them, hey, your team lost with 3-0 from this other team. What happened? And then you can really easy and really fast give us a quote about what happened on the pitch. Probably you got a lot of injuries or something else happened, or you're looking forward to the next match where you probably think you have some more chance of winning, or maybe you have to mention one of the players because they did something exceptionally. We can all catch that. And this is all automated. There's not yet a human involved in this entire process. And it finally ends up on our newspaper website from, in this case, Dagblad van het Noorden, where you see that we know that Thijs de Jong scored a goal, and so that he makes the headline, and we write the entire article here automated. Well, the first thing when I go to the newsroom and talked about this technology and what it could mean for us is that people would say, what if there's errors in there? What if things go wrong? How do we train the robot? How does the robot decide on text, on how to build the article? Because like Cecilia mentioned, you can explain to a journalist if you provide the robot with the results from the official football organization, the journalists are fine with it. They can see that the right facts are there. It's not the wrong reporting on a game. But how do you actually write the article on a tone of voice with using the right words that you want to use as the specific title? And United Robots has a very nice feedback loop building for that. They use a project management tool called Slack. You probably heard of it. It's really easy to use. And each and every article that is generated during the pilot, but it's probably also when we roll this out in September, gets also published in the Slack channel. And what we can do as a journalist, we can take out that article. And if there's anything written wrong, or if there's a typo or something that could be written on another way, we can send it back through a feedback channel in Slack. And then United Robots will take care of it to make sure that the robot gets trained to not use certain words anymore, or to write things differently, or to prevent writing any typos. And the best thing about this is, one of my colleagues also said this, if you have a new news reporter in your team, you probably have to tell them like 10 to 20 times when they have to change their typos or make the common mistakes they also do. The theory with the robot is you only have to tell it once, and then it knows not to do it like that anymore, and it'll change its behavior. So that's really helpful, especially if you want to generate a lot of content like we are planning with 60,000 articles coming up. So why are we actually doing this besides the fact that it's about time we celebrate the end of COVID and we go out and sport again with our friends and family? So if we can make these 60,000 unique articles, they're probably not going to be viral or be each individual article is not going to have so many page views. But the thing is, it's a unique hyperlocal content. It's an event that is important for a really small number of people, but it is really important. It's important for me what my nephew is doing, but it's probably also important for his neighbor, for his dad, for his granddad, and some people from his class and some other friends. So they're really involved in what's happening at that certain event. And if you can scale the amount of events and you can make it really cost efficient to report on one single event, it's really worth the trouble. And what we are doing, nobody else is doing right now. So nobody is reporting on that event, and we will try doing that. The other opportunity there is from a CEO perspective, if a name gets mentioned from somebody who makes a goal, or a coach does a comment about an injury on a player, or from the coach itself, whenever somebody Googles about their own names, about their own teams or their own places they've been, they probably end up with us right now. And we take them onto our platform, and probably we can, with some other journalistic good articles, we can convince them to subscribe to our newspaper. It's also a big driver for engagement, because we reach out to the really small events, the really small coaches, because if you're in sports, you want to be mentioned on TV or want to be mentioned in the newspaper because it really matters to you what happened on the pitch. And every coach, at least in the Netherlands, they take it very seriously, even if they use a team of 15-year-olds and it's the third team on the club and they never win. Once they have the win, they want to be there in the newspaper with a quote about why they finally made it and got their 3 points. So we're coming really close to a very large group of people in the Netherlands that do amateur football, which is really nice noting, because the entirety of the Netherlands in a regular season, there are over 700,000 amateur football matches in the Netherlands. So it's a big potential. But for us in the north, it's 60,000. There's also a lot of possibilities on other raw data where you can use it for automated content, for real estate or weather or traffic. We're not yet at the moment experimenting with that, but it looks really promising. It's really interested in looking also on what we can do with that stuff. The other thing with this is this robot is very, very fast. So as soon as we have the official result of the match from the Dutch Football Association, within minutes we can publish the result. That's not something we can do with human journalists. And also, like Cecilia also mentioned, it's the really boring stuff that journalists have to do. This is the result of the match. They're going to play against the other team next week at this and this time and at this and this place. They can go out and do other reporting, and we can report really fast on results, on everything that's happening on the amateur pitches. But you can also do that for national or international sports if you want to, and have the right data source. We are also experimenting with other crowdsourcing features, because once people on the side of the pitch tell us who scored a goal and what minute, we can monitor it live. So people who are attending other matches but wants to know what's happening on another pitch in the same league, we can provide them with live scores on what is happening up there. And we can also do stuff like that with goal scorer information, make ranks on top goal scorers and stuff like that. We're experimenting with that. But the main focus here for us is that we have the core of raw data where United Robots helps us to create a news article, and we use a little bit of spice from crowdsourced information from coaches or videos or photos, and then we have a really rich article. If you would place automated content in the entirety of sports content we create within NDC Media Group, you see that you could create a matrix like this where we have paid content, we have free content, we report on amateur sports, and we also report on pro sports. And the amateur sports is really, with the real journalist, a human interest part mainly. It's about a player that played for 25 years for the same club. Something terrible happened to him. We make a story about that, and background story, and about how the club helps him on whatever it happens to him. And that's the real also stuff that helps us get subscribers, so it's paid content. We also have match reports that used to be a paid content, because we send people out there, freelancers, they go by bus, by car, through the province, go out there to do the small pitches and report on it, and that would be paid content. But for now, if we use this United Robots tool, we can also use it to create free amateur content to drive people to our platforms and convert them with paid content to subscribers. On the pro side, you see that we report on with free content on the result of the pro teams like FC Groningen or SC Heerenveen or other professional basketball teams or volleyball teams we have up here. The factual reporting is free for us. So if there's a transfer or something is happening at the club, somebody gets fired or anything, that's free content. The analysis and the background stories of that are always paid content. So amateur content and automated amateur content helps us to create a big chunk of free engaging content that will help us drive subscribers. But for now, I'm mainly looking forward to just say that we're going to report on each and every match that's going to be out there. And I really hope nothing terrible happens, and in September all the kids can go out there, all the seniors can get out there and play their games, and we can report on it. Brilliant. So that's it for me right now.
Yes, well, of course there are questions coming. We have a question from Mr. Michael Bieberbauer. He says, hi, Mr. Boer. One question relates to the coaches' comments. So they can SMS in their observations on a game. How do you deal with the variations in writing, from my pet hate SMS shorthand through to spelling inconsistencies? How do you deal with this pre-publishing, or is it post-publish fixes through Slack only?
No, what we're aiming for right now is to have people in the newsroom there, and we have a special platform where we see all the coach comments roll in, and we can moderate them. So if it's good, it's good. We just say it can be published, and if it needs some rewriting, we will do that. And we want to work to a system where we know if a coach gave us like 3 decent comments, we know he writes a decent comment, so we don't have to look at it before publishing. And but that is a thing that we're really looking forward on how it's going to work. We have to see that in real time. But first we start out with moderation, and we hope in the future that we can automate that as well if we know that the coach delivers us good quality comments.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a question from Hajime Osaki. How are you publishing those stories? I suspect you have a dedicated page. Is that correct?
We actually,
it's a key question, isn't it? How does the
exactly.
right people get the right story?
So basically, we have an article and we publish them on our platforms. But if you don't do anything else, then that probably people not going to find it besides probably searching through Google, because it's not going. This is not articles that are going to be on the front page or on the sports page, main page, or anything. So what we are building is a tool where you can search for the teams you're interested in, and you can subscribe to those teams, and you can subscribe to newsletters from those teams. And we're also gonna use the clubs that they're gonna post all the articles we are writing about their teams on their social media. So it saves them time and money because they don't have to report anymore on their teams, and it gives us traffic of people who are reading about the articles. So it is about getting the right articles to the right people who are of the small group of people that is interested in that particular match, and people have to subscribe in some way. And we're also working on a system where we report on regional news, but you can also subscribe to the news from your particular village or city. And then we will probably add some of the main teams from those amateur clubs right there on those pages.
Okay. All right. Here's Dean Roper with WAN-IFRA. Being an old sports hack, how has this impacted deadlines? I.e. being an, how has this, sorry, he's written it twice. Have they improved the deadlines? He's asking about, have the deadlines improved?
Well, I don't know exactly how he means it, because we are not now reporting on matches where we didn't report on before. So it doesn't change anything on deadlines. Yeah. But if you would use this for, say, sports where you would write a match summary as fast as you can at the end of the game, then I think this could be really helpful to have like a basic setup for an article. And as a journalist at the end of a professional FC Groningen match, you can use it to really fast drop the match result and some quick observations about what happened on the pitch. So yeah, I think it could help.
All right. It was interesting to see that matrix where you plotted it in as the free content to drive people in. How do you think this is going to impact on audience development for you guys? What type of people do you think will become subscribers? How is it going to help?
Well, first of all, for us, it's because there's a crowdsourced element in it. It's not, it would be weird to make it paid content. So we need the people on the ground to provide us with the information. And the other thing is that I think it's probably for most titles, we're doing okay with people of over 50 years. They read the paper, they always did it. And right now we see actually, we're doing pretty great with numbers on the physical paper, but reaching out to people from 30 to 50 is really hard for us. And I think the best way here, because we also report on senior matches, but I'm really looking forward on all the reports of the youth matches, where all the moms and dads can read about what the coach said about their children because they couldn't make it to the pitch, because they had to do other stuff or whatever. And then we can provide them with really engaging content, and we can say we're really engaged also in their lives. And I hope it will give them an extra reason for them to say, hey, this newspaper is also covering this stuff. I should support them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that the teams are going to be using these texts as well. So that's like proper promotion for you too. So that's a win-win, I guess. Are you doing any other kind of promotion? Like are you running a campaign or something to tell people about this amazing thing that you're going to do?
No, we're first doing it through the clubs. And you should know that in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
There's this very well organized system of clubs. There are loads of clubs out here with dedicated volunteers doing all this. If we can get the coaches' enthusiasm to tell us about what they feel or what happened on the pitch, and we did some field research on that, and it came out really positive because you're a coach. If you're a coach or a team, you think you have some expertise about the game, and you think your opinion should be heard, because else you wouldn't be a coach of a team. So if they can ventilate what happens on the pitch with us on a big platform, a well-known newspaper, I think that's the key to making this a success. And they will tell everybody, and it's really easy to share these articles. So I hope this thing goes out there in the WhatsApp groups of the team. Hey, the coach mentioned me on the newspaper, and they said I played a really well game or whatever. That's where we should start with the clubs, and we're not doing a big campaign on it, because if you're interested in amateur football generally, we're not giving you anything really interesting, because you're probably interested in the big amateur teams. You're not interested in the youth team. So we really have to target the youth teams themselves through the coaches, through the clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we haven't had any more questions. I have one question. Did you look at other ways of doing this? Did you look at other technologies to provide the automation?
Well, I know that there's lots of open source stuff out there to do AI things, but from my perspective, I think that what you guys do as a service is exactly what you would need as a publisher, because we have so much other stuff to do. We have to do the moderation. We have to make sure it gets properly published on our platforms. We have to make sure those coaches find a way to give us their feedback and stuff like that. And I think that is where we are good at as a publisher. And at least for speaking for us, but I think also other publishers, we're not particularly good in a new technology and stuff like that. We were pretty late to the party with this internet thingy that turned out to be a really important thing. So I don't think we should get involved in the actual AI technologies. Let's leave that to startup companies.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Art. I don't know, we don't seem to have any more questions, so I think we should maybe wrap it up there.
Cool.
Yeah, I just want to thank Cecilia Campbell from United Robots and also Art Boer from NDC Media Group. Art, all the best for the upcoming football season. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun getting out there post-COVID, and good luck to your nephew as well with all of his matches.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, Cecilia, thank you to United Robots for your support of the Newsroom Summit.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, always. And now we're actually going to leave our current on-air platform, and I think all the audience has received not only an alert, but also an email telling them to join us via Zoom. So for the next session on diversity and inclusion, on driving audience development, you'll need to go to the Zoom link that is either on the alert panel on your screen or in your email inbox. And so just go to that meeting ID and the password's there. So we look forward to seeing you in the next session. Thanks so much, guys. See you later, Cecilia and Art. All the best.
See ya. Bye.